what happened to all the experienced crypto founders? Hold on, let me explain. We have a lot of great crypto native founders building incredible products while somehow surviving this crazy world while doing that. And they probably deserve their own video. But just a few years ago, there was a whole wave of experienced tech founders that have built popular products and were preaching about the value of this technology and how important it is, and it was going to change the world.
Similar to Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, I think one of the lessons here is when you give power to people, it provides more economic empowerment and more access. But in order to give more power to people, people have to be able to trust each other. And so you need to have a system of trust.
And so we get really interested in cryptocurrencies as they can maybe be applied to that set of problems.
People pay far too high a cost and have to wait far too long to send money home to their families abroad. The current system is failing them.
But suddenly, they all just disappeared. And I know someone will stop watching this video now because you're thinking, of course they all left because of the market going down or the hype of the tech not meeting the expectations. But I think there's more to this because something strange has been happening recently. Despite the doom and gloom in the charts and the drama that you see on crypto Twitter every day, they're coming back. So in this Developer Joy deep dive, I want to look at what these founders are saying, what it means for builders, and even talk to one of these founders directly to hear their story about why now. Let's get into it. So one of the things that inspired me to make this video was these two tweets. The first one was from Serena Williams' husband, talking about buying TikTok and bringing it on chain. I know, he spelled it that way, but can we just move on? The other one was from Kevin Rose talking about building a new Dig. And I can imagine some of you might not know what Dig is, which is very sad. But it was basically Reddit before Reddit and was my first love on the internet. Its popularity dropped like a meme coin rug pull after some redesign that the community felt favored corporations more than them. And the founders left and the company was sold. But that's enough history. Back to this tweet. See, they aim to rebuild Dig with a human trust and verification in a world where AI is becoming real good at faking it. Normally people just say these things in hopes and dreams, but I feel Kevin Rose is talking a serious game because he even named the technology out loud with zero knowledge proofs, particularly ZKTLS, to verify claims from users. Think preventing influencers from reviewing products that they never even used themselves. He mentioned WorldCoin, which many people know as Sam Altman's side gig to scan your irises. But included in that mention was Opacity Network. And that is where the story gets deeper. See, next thing I know, the people's champ Nader Dabit is jumping into the ring to give a bit more flavor about the Opacity Network. And so it's time to find out how Opacity Network is getting an experienced founder like Kevin Rose to come back to crypto even after losing it big on NFTs. Now, looking at their docs, it became clear I'm pretty early to the party. Fortunately, I did find a good YouTube interview with the team and a talk on the Verifiable Summit to give me more information. So how does Opacity Network work? Well, you have lots of amazing data about you, but it's all stuck in Web 2 world on somebody else's server. Your Instagram followers, your GitHub profile, even your most played Spotify song. And whether you like it or not, this forms your identity. So standard web security, HTTPS, TLS, is great for keeping that data with the server hosting it secret. But it's like an inside joke. You have to be there to really find some value. Opacity Network steps in as that friend that can actually tell good stories as a trustworthy digital notary. They witness your secure chat with the server, but here's the magic. They sign an encrypted message without ever seeing the plain text, aka what you're actually saying. And this is your golden ticket, proving that that specific encrypted data came from the legitimate source. They achieved this privacy using multi-party computation, or MPC, as a key exchange, where you and the notary each hold only part of the secret key, preventing the notary from peeking. Since getting perfect cryptographic proof directly from the original server source isn't possible yet, Opacity is built on EigenLayer, barring its economic security muscle. And with the original data and the notary signed proof, you can whip up a zero knowledge proof to prove specific things about your data on chain. But is this actually useful? Consider this. Drivers can use Opacity to prove their legit high ratings and ride history that they built over years of time working with Uber or DoorDash, and that can be brought over to new decentralized apps, instantly building and fighting off fakers from day one on being in the app. So it makes sense someone like Kevin Rose, rebuilding his social media site, would be interested in Opacity Network for verification and getting rid of all those AI bots. But I needed to dig deeper, so I decided to conduct my own interview with a founder that is also reviving his company with some pretty interesting crypto features to find out, again, why now? And that founder is Stacy Spikes, and the company is MoviePass. Yes, that MoviePass. If you have not heard of it, no spoilers, but there's a great documentary to watch called MoviePass, Movie Crash, and you should definitely watch that after you've done watching this interview, of course. But if you could kind of give us a bit about the rise of MoviePass, a bit of the changes that happened, and ultimately your return to MoviePass. What's that kind of story? No spoiler alerts included, but
Oh, that's the hardest part. No spoilers. Okay, so back in the day, my co-founder and I wanted to build Netflix for movie theaters. And so the idea was pretty straightforward. You'd pay a monthly fee, and then you could go to the movies as often as you wanted to any theater that you wanted. That was the dream. And so we went through a few iterations. We raised a little bit of money. We got up on our feet. And one thing led to another. We really created this really strong cult following. About
nice.
5 years in, we got a buy offer. And so we ended up selling to a private equity group. And we had raised, I'd say, around $10 million. And the company got valued at around half a billion in valuation. So we had done pretty nicely on building a really core brand. And one thing led to another. They wanted to drop the price. When I was CEO, it was $30 a month. They wanted to drop it to $10 a month as a promotional item. We did, and we had 100,000 people sign up in 48 hours. And
Selling
so
like hotcakes, as they say.
selling like hotcakes. And so there was this moment at which we said, "That's great, turn it off." And these new owners were like, "No, look how fast we're growing. This is spectacular." And we're like, "No, no, 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 no. You have to turn this off."
Yeah.
And they were so high on the momentum that they refused to turn it off, and they ended up going bankrupt. And it took me and my co-founder all of our equity down with it. So we never got to exit off the table. Um, so basically, kind of went home, lick wounds, and eventually MoviePass ended up becoming available in an auction. And something happened after that. I'll try and give you
Yeah,
the
there you go.
non-spoiler
Yeah,
version,
what happens next?
right?
I mean, we're gonna
Right?
talk a little
You
bit
have
about
to
what's
tune
happening.
in.
Yeah, what's happening now? Again, that's kind of why we brought you here, because you're in. Well, we're gonna call it rebuild. Maybe you don't
Yeah,
agree with that label, but
yeah,
you're starting to so build out and plan. I would say like Web3 or crypto features
yeah,
or even
yeah,
products within products. And I want to know first and foremost, kind of what was the inspiration on like looking at this technology in this industry and say, I want to be there. And
yeah.
also, if you can kind of give a little bit of description of what you're sort of building, so the people at home can kind of understand the context.
Sure. So, probably from God, I don't remember the first time I bought Bitcoin, but I want to say 2017, 2015, something like that. And
We'll put the
and
Bitcoin price of that on the screen
yeah,
for.
yeah, yeah. Well, the only thing is, I wish I would have done more. I seriously was like, "Oh, here's a few $100s. I wish I had done more." Um, but at the time, I think from a science fiction point of view, whether you're reading, Neuromancer or William Gibson stuff or Cryptonomicon, like there was stuff that was out there that kind
Yeah,
of gave you these ideas of this this money that could move fluidly. It wasn't centralized. It had a lot of empowerment faculties to it, and I think I love the idea of that. And so, but other than that, I remember going to my first crypto ATM, right? And
Oh,
you went
nice. Yeah, yeah,
back in
yeah.
the day when they first started having the little kiosks, the little Bitcoin kiosks.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so,
Just
yeah,
accepts Bitcoin kind of thing as well. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So kind of we went through that. We saw it rise and fall, and then really when the NFT push happened, it was the first time in the movie industry you started seeing a use case for some of the technology. So we really saw when the Matrix relaunched and they released their limited edition NFTs,
Oh, nice.
and you started seeing digital collectibles, and then when the NFT bubble burst, it just kind of it went away. But it planted in my mind a lot of things that here's a movie poster that you get autographed. Here's a script that you might have as a collectible. Here's a doll or something. All of those things, you suddenly the light bulb went off. Like you can do that all that the movie industry does, but now in a digital way and own
Yeah.
it in a digital realm. And I'm a really big VR person. I'm on like headset number 5.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Okay.
I'm that deep in that, and so to me, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I can see how digital currency and a digital artifact can move around in this world even more than the real world. And so as we were bringing back MoviePass and rebuilding it, I started thinking if I want a company that's more valuable, do I build an old ticketing company or do I build a company of the future? And so
Yeah.
everywhere we could, we started putting in little elements and features. And Animoca came in and invested in us. And then most recently, Miston and the Sui blockchain just did a sizable investment in us. So we're excited about that. But everywhere we can build, we are building.
Nice. And I guess beyond the collectibles, we had a brief chat before this about some of the world of prediction markets, and like I said, I was telling you how I discovered this subreddit and subculture of monitoring box office numbers. So maybe you can give
Yeah.
a brief light about that as well, about how crypto can kind of enable that market, and the
Yeah,
opportunity.
so we're building a product called Mogul, which Mogul is going to be the first fantasy sports league for Hollywood. And the goal is to create a speculation and predictive market for the movie industry. So there's kind of like sports, there's 4 things that are unknown outcomes. There's what's the performance? Like this weekend, Minecraft beat out Super Mario Brothers and grossed 145 million. It was projected to gross 60, right?
Oh,
So
nice.
if you guess that better, right, there's an advantage there. Um, your what we call the PSAs, which is the per screen average. So you take the gross, but you divide it by the number of screens. So let's say I have an art house film like Nora, and you pick a film like um, uh, uh, I was going to say The Wizard of Oz, uh, but Wicked.
Yeah.
And so you pick Wicked and I pick Honora. Well, Honora was on fewer screens but had a higher per screen average. And
Okay.
so that's one of those things. And then the third one is to be able to determine what the sentiment score, what is Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. And then like classic award shows, who's going to win? Who's going to win the Oscar? Who's going to win this award? So those are things that people are always trying to predict or always trying to guess on, but there's never been a central place that you could do all of that in one place. And so we're building that and we're launching it on the Sui blockchain. So it's completely being built there.
Very cool. So one of the point of this kind of video as well is I've started to notice that we have a lot of successful founders, and I think you would fall in that category by any definition of being a successful founder. And I'm my thesis is that their experience building successful companies and finding product market fit and building out and scaling products will be an ultimately a major positive for the industry as a whole. So I'm curious from your side of how you feel that your experience kind of will contribute positively to you finding success in this industry, like how maybe as you grew a movie past, you kind of see similarities in building in this crypto industry that can be a little bit crazy sometimes, but also struggling to find. We don't have many of the biggest stories of strong product market fit, but someone that with your experience who has had that or experienced it at least, what can you sort of bring to the table? How do you feel your experience will contribute positively to it?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like for the longest time, because I'm not an engineer and I can't think of it from that perspective, but I think of product from a consumer perspective. And I'm always saying it needs to work whether they're 8 years old or they're 80 years old.
Nice.
And when the internet, when Web 2 took off, it was like getting your mail on your computer was as easy as walking to the mailbox at the end of the block or at the end of your driveway. You need to make it that simple. And for a long time, um, when Internet 2 was all about something that just college campuses were playing with, and it
Yeah.
wasn't something that was very serious, and it didn't have any consumer. So the logins were very tricky, and the handshakes between the mainframes was very extensive because they had all of these security layers to it. But once things like AOL and other things started saying, okay, I need to deliver mail, or Amazon saying, I just need them to click a button and put their credit card and buy it. Once you get to the keep it simple, stupid point of this, and everybody gets past the ego of let's make it as hard as possible because
Mm.
we're cool,
Yeah.
it's gonna take off. And so one of the reasons why we really were drawn to Sui was their investment pitch to me was we want to make wallets and login as easy as creating an email.
Nice.
And when they said that to me, I got like goosebumps. I'm like, we need to do business, because my belief is until you get to that simple on ramp and you make it so easy they don't have to think about it. Should I use a cold wallet? Should I use a hot wallet? How many different places should I hide my password? Like all of this stuff
Hmm.
makes it so complex, and there's so much fear around using it, that, uh-oh, what if I lose this? And there's complexity around people losing things. It's like you're out of luck. There's
Yeah.
nothing we can
Good luck
do.
with that. Mm.
Yeah.
You can't speak
And
to the manager of crypto. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, there is no customer support. You can't even
Yeah.
help, and it creates a churn factor that the business can't even do anything about. So my feeling is I think that as the engineers make that easier, you see people like myself, I see all of the use cases, but we've got to get over the hump of, the barrier to entry to people.
Nice. And I guess on the flip side of that, what do you feel like you have to learn the most about this industry or the technology, or again, bringing maybe these type of products to market? Because as you said, right? I mean, the devs are doing something, right? We're trying to build the infrastructure and the user experience, but it's still very new. So what's the kind of the biggest holes that you have with your knowledge, and how do you sort of plan to fill them?
I mean, I'm a really big, I try and remain a student. I try and read everything possible, whether it's Vitalik, what he posts. I read all of his
Wow, if
posts.
you can read and understand Vitalik's post, you've
I didn't
already
say I didn't
passed all.
say understand. I said read.
Okay, yeah, you can read the word. There are words
Wait,
there.
here's a Vitalik post. You're like, and then I
Yeah,
gotta go
that's
ask Chat
99%
GP.
of the industry. So
Then I gotta
no
go
worries.
ask Chat GPT what it meant.
Yeah.
So like I watched, if you didn't get to see it, it's on HBO, but Vitalik's there's a documentary on him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so, watching the doc but reading his post and others, and then I think it's just being a student, and I feel like there's two worlds. There's the finance community, and then there's the utility function, the functionality that it brings. And so whether I'm sitting at Hong Kong Consensus, or I was one of the speakers at ETH Denver, or being at Token 2049, it's like you sit in the audience and you try and understand and read and be a fan of it. And then you say, you know, the future is coming, right?
Yeah.
But you say, how can I not only help it come, but how can I, you know, honor it and watch it and be a part of it? I have no doubt about its future. And then I try and also say to the community, whenever I get opportunities like this, I say to people, reach out to us. It's not hard. I'm easily accessible, but we're building this plane in the open. We've got great engineers who've approached us, and they're building stuff because I don't know how to build it. I don't
Right.
know what to do. And that's where our team asks for people to come in, build cool things for the movie industry that they see and believe in.
Very nice. As they say, the only way to predict the future is to build it. So,
Yeah.
super. On behalf of the community, if I can speak for the community, I'm happy to have you here building cool stuff with your experience and success that you've already had. So that was your Developer Joy deep dive on experienced founders coming back to crypto. So you might be feeling the hype is gone, but the tech is here. So if you're a builder, new or old, let's get building.